So in this video, we're going to talk about the concept of stagflation and why that situation is scary for someone working for a central bank. Stagflation is a combination of two things: a stagnating economy, which means that it's an economy that's underproducing. So if we think to graphs in macroeconomics, we're thinking about an economy that's below potential output. The actual output's below potential, and therefore we're kind of like in a recessionary output gap. We're underproducing. That's a stagnating economy. And then inflation for stagflation represents inflation. So not only do we have a stagnating economy, but we also have an inflation problem. So it's a situation where prices are rising while having a situation that we are in a stagnating economy. Because typically speaking, when we fall into a recession, it could often be due to what we call demand shocks, which is for some reason there's either consumption, investment, government spending, or exports has fallen for an unknown reason, and that shifts aggregate demand, and we end up with having less performing economy, but also a downward pressure on prices. That's very easy to fix. With government intervention, they could stimulate the economy back to a potential output situation. I say easy to fix, there's still some difficulty with it, but at least you don't have a production problem with an inflation problem. You just have a production problem which you try to fix, and it brings price levels back up to something more similar to the previous situation before the shock happened. In a stagnating economy that we have stagflation, that is tricky because you have an output problem and you also have an inflation problem. So if the government, the central bank, decides to intervene by stimulating the economy, well, stimulating the economy creates an upward pressure on prices. If prices have already gone up by 5-10% and you're pushing prices up even more, you're creating an inflation problem. But if you do nothing, you still have some inflation, but now you have to go through a recession. So it's kind of like that balancing act. Often central bankers will try to keep prices with low inflation, so stable prices. So if they want to maintain that, they're not going to do that much in those situations of recession because they don't want to increase the inflation problem. So it's a very tricky situation to deal with. If you think about government policies such as widespread tariffs on many countries that you're importing from, well, that's going to lead to a level of stagflation because all of these goods that you're used to buying all suddenly become more expensive. So you'll buy less of them. And if those countries adopt countermeasures like tariffs on your products, it's going to lead to less production than before. So for a certain amount of time, as we transition, you'll have underperforming economy and at the same time an inflation problem. So it's a really hard fix. Any recession or any underperforming economy that does not have an inflation problem, much easier to fix. This one, trickier. So keep that in mind, that if we go through a period of stagflation, it's a really weird period for the government to intervene. So you'll see that if that ever occurs in your lifetime. Have a good one. Talk soon. If you found this video interesting, please consider subscribing or joining my class where I guide you to apply and expand on the information found in these videos to real-life examples. Have a good day.